Alrighty guys, this is round 2 of the first cube draft. We would like to play first. And this first hand doesn't really do anything. We have bunches of land and some 5-drops, even on the play not keepable. This hand doesn't do a whole lot either. It's pretty slow, but at this point in time, this is essentially only slightly better than our last hand. But the fact that we'd be mulliganing to 5, I think this hand's it's close, but I think this hand is better than a random 5 versus an unknown opponent. Plus, we have a lot of spicy cards we can draw to keep us in this game. So we keep this one. Our opponent mulled to 6 also, so it's not so bad. And our opponent let us know that his deck was very, very bad this round, and he wanted to know if he could add a Sword of Body and Mind to it. And Sword of Body and Mind is not in the Pauper Cube, but I felt our deck was good enough that it couldn't touch me. So I told him to go ahead and put the sword in his deck. So this was pretty much, he had already conceded the match at this point because his deck was poor, and he just wanted to battle me with a sword and see if sword would do anything. So the first few turns are pretty uneventful. Get hit by Ravenous Rat, get to discard an excess land. Times are nice. Whole lot of nothing going on. Not evoking Muldrifter because we just want to hard cast it. Now, he brainstorms and cracks on a turn, which is really nice. And I'm also thinking here that he might have an Okiba Gang. If he does, times are bad for me. I'm pretty much committed to burning my Capsize to bounce his Okiba Gang if he ninjutsus it into play here. But we get lucky, and he just has a Shrieking Grotesque. We need the Mountain a lot more than we need the Rolling Thunder, especially since we have a Mnemonic Wall to bring it back later in the game. So we just discard the Rolling Thunder. And then we get to stick our Muldrifter here. Draws us into infinite removal. So we take the 2 here with the intention of we can kill both of his creatures in play, and we can just start clocking him now with the Muldrifter, put him on a clock, put pressure on him. That's why I elect not to trade with the Shrieking Grotesque. So here we use our removal to kill the Grotesque, and we get to bash in there. And ironically enough, our opponent thinks he's got us here. He runs out Sword of Body and Mind. And this was at the point when I actually just found out he had it. He's like, oh, by the way, Sword of Body and Mind's in my deck, let's play. And so I responded by lightning bolting the Ravenous Rats. And indeed we did play. And that's pretty much essentially the game. Our opponent was not lying. His deck was very, very terrible. I guess he just got cut off from every which way. And Tidewater Minion gives him a little bit of hope here. Not really, though. We have Capsize. We bounce the sword here instead of the Signet, a land, or a creature because we want to Ogre Savant his creature, and that essentially puts him back 2 turns. If he wants to go creature and then a sword, which he can't ever do because we have Capsize to bounce the sword or the creature if he tries to equip and swing. So this game, I believe, ended in the next turn or 2. Just he couldn't do anything and scooped. We both get a good laugh off of the Crystal Seer that doesn't do anything. Kill his creature, bash for 5. And if that's the best he can do is Crystal Seer there, I'm fine using my Firebolt to deal with it. And then unless he can start plopping down 2 threats a turn, the Capsize is just going to keep him way out of the game. He's under a pretty reasonable clock right now. He's taking 5 and he's at 9, so he needs to throw out 2 creatures here. So I can't bounce them and swing. And him Forbidden Alchemying is pretty good for us. And he loses a Liliana Spectre, Doomblade, and Shimmering Grotto. So I'm thinking he kept a reasonable spell here, since Doomblade would help him in this spot. So he probably kept something better than Doomblade. Or just a compulsive research. So our opponent refilled his hand and got to stick a Looter Elcor. Unfortunately, it's got Shadow and can't block our guy. Whether he knows that or not remains a mystery to me. But we get to bash, and our opponent just decides to pack it in here because he can't do anything and his deck is so bad. And upon closer examination of our opponent's graveyard, it does in fact appear that our opponent has a less than optimal deck. There's a few good cards, but most of them are just kind of quite meh, whereas our deck is all just, it meshes well together and has a lot of raw power as far as the controlling elements go. Well, that's all we have for Cube Draft 1. I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching.